What up, guys? Today we're going to be starting a new project, and this project's called The Tree of Life. Really is not a tree of life at all. In fact, this is just a seasonal tree. Trees right after the winter time kind of look a little dead. So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to draw the trunk of a tree to the branches of a tree to stems of the tree, and try to teach you how to get it to look natural. And then the unique shapes that those branches and stems make, we're going to fill in with beautiful color. By the end of this project, you're going to have a piece of paper that is separated into unique shapes, filled in with radiating color, and it's quite pleasant to look at. So let's get started. So to start this project, the tools that you're going to need is a paper, a pencil, some black paint, a paintbrush, and some water. The last thing you're going to need is some oil pastels. Now to start this project, what we're going to do is we're going to start off by drawing our tree. Now you're going to be using a pencil to do this. I'm going to use a permanent marker just so that way you can see my lines and see exactly how I draw the tree. So the way that I do it is first I start in the middle at the bottom of the page and I draw straight up. Once I make it to the halfway point of the piece of paper, then I go ahead and curve it to the upper left corner. Then from there, about here, about where it really starts to curve, this is where I add in my other big branch. And I wire it off. From here, I add in two other large branches. One right here, and then one right here. Typically, I have them working somewhat a little upwards, so that way it looks like the tree is spreading up and out. Now from here, on each branch, I choose an area, like right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it on out, and I'm going to continue that branch on out until one of two things. Either one, I hit another branch, or I hit the edge of the paper. I hit a branch, so then I stopped. Now what I'm going to do is go to the middle of that area and do the exact same thing. And then I'm going to do one more, take it in the middle, and then go right there. Then I'm going to find the middle of that area and do the exact same thing. And then I can find the middle of that area and do the exact same thing. Find the middle and then end it. I'm going to do the exact same thing for this branch as well. This is a nice long branch, so I'm going to find maybe the middle from here to here and take it on up. And then find the middle, somewhere in the middle, it doesn't have to be exact, and then take it on out. And then up and out. I can do the same thing here, the middle from here to here, up, up. And then it's repeating this step with this branch and this branch as well. Again, finding an area, working up and out, middle, up and out. And now I have what I call a stick figure of a tree. What I have is I have a tree trunk that works up and slowly breaks off, winds off, branches off, stems off, however we want to verbalize it. It divides into smaller and smaller areas. Now that I'm done dividing it into sections, Now what I can do is I can start painting. Now the important thing that we need to remember when it comes to a tree is that the trunk is its largest spot. And so the trunk's gonna come up and like I said, stick to thick. So we start off with a stick figure tree, and we are going to bring this up with a certain thickness. And then as we work up, it's going to get a little thinner, and we're gonna follow right up our first line. We're gonna follow that line and let it get thinner and thinner. Now the type of brush that I'm using is a flat brush. This brush allows us to control the thickness. This brush allows us to paint something that is thick and paint something that is also thin by twisting the brush. Thick, thin. That's the control that we need in order to make a correct tree. So with that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to dampen my brush with my water. I don't want it to be sopping wet. I just want it to be damp. Pick up plenty of paint. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up in the top corner. I'm going to keep my brush nice and thin. I'm going to drag it right down. Just like that. Fill my brush with some more paint. I'm going to start where I see that paint. My brush started losing paint, so I'm going to start up here and then bring it right back down and slowly get a little thicker. Dampen my brush a little bit more. Take off the excess water, fill up with a little more paint, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in that area, fill in that space with the paint that I have. Now you can see that I didn't get too thick or too crazy. I don't want anything that's too strong or demanding with that black. In the end, I really want my color to stand out. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move on to this branch right here. Again, this branch needs to match about the thickness of this branch. But I'm not just gonna start here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start down here and I'm going to slowly work up into the branch. And then as I work up the branch, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly let off of my paintbrush. So therefore, it gets nice and thin. Now time for this branch and this branch. Do you see how I'm starting off with my first 4 branches that I drew from the beginning? Again, I'm going to start down here and then have it actually look like it's growing off of the trunk. As I work away, I'm releasing my paintbrush, so therefore it gets a little thinner. Same thing with this one. I'm going to start down here, bend it in, so therefore it looks like it's growing off of the tree trunk, slowly letting off the pressure of my brush, so therefore it gets thinner. And there I've got my tree. Now when I move on to all of the rest of the branches, again, I need to keep them even thinner than my main 4 branches. So my branches were about half the size of my trunk, and then every time I move on to another branch, I get even a little thinner. Again, I'm starting about an inch away from my branch, in the middle of that branch, and then working in, so therefore it looks like they're actually growing off of each other. Now, when painting the tree, if you're a little more comfortable with using a smaller brush, totally, by all means, you can use a smaller brush. I wanted to show you how much control you have with a bigger brush that is wider. Because by turning it, it gives you that ability to make a thin stroke. Now that I'm here, now we gotta let it dry, and then we'll move straight in to oil pastels. All right, now it's time to move on with oil pastels. With the oil pastels, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take each section and we are going to enhance each unique shape by coloring it in with oil pastels. For each spot, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose two colors. I'm gonna color half of it one color and the other half the other color. Once I get done coloring it two different halves, then what I'm going to do is with my finger I'm going to blend the two together. So let me show you an example. Right here I'm going to go ahead and do blue. And then I'm going to take green. Then I'm going to take my finger and blend the two together. A few things to think about. One is I don't want to color in my black paint. I want to keep it nice and clean, so I need to keep that color contained within that shape. The other thing that I want to think about is what colors to use. I need to be careful on being very precise with my color choice. So for example, green and red. If I choose green and red, that's fine. But green and red are complementary colors. And if I mix complementary colors, I'm going to get a brown color. So I'm okay with you getting a brown color, as long as you thought ahead and as long as that's what you wanted. The other thing that I want you to focus on is the direction in which you're coloring and blending. So since my branches work up and out, I need to make sure that the stroke of my pastels is going in that same direction. So therefore it looks like the color is growing with the tree. And what I mean is, if I color this way and do half this way and half that way, it's kind of working against the grain of the tree. And I want to make sure that I work with the grain rather than against. Let's go ahead and do another one. Now that I've shown you a few, now I'm going to go ahead and show you how the end product looks. Alright guys, so there you have it. This is the tree of life. Beautiful, colorful, bold, in your face. Have fun with this, and hopefully you learned something new.